きましたがの徳富だ。守った、そして落ちた。
Hello everyone, and welcome back to TSN or the SASUKE Nerds. I am your host Evan, and today I want to talk about something that hasn't really been discussed in the community before. While we have seen rankings for SASUKE and A&W, today we are going over another ninja show that has sadly fallen into obscurity, and that is Kunoichi. Kunoichi, also known as Women of Ninja Warrior, has some tournaments that can compete with some of the best Sasuke tournaments. It's a really good show. It even introduced some obstacles that many international shows ended up using, such as the Dancing Stones, Domino Hill, and its version of the Spinning Log. There is one ground rule I have here, and that is Kunoichi 99 and Kunoichi 2000, also known as the Strong Mama events on Kinniku Banzuke, will not be included on here. But if you're wondering where I'd rank them, they would be in the bottom 2 spots and are F tiers. In fact, I'd argue Kunoichi 99 is one of the worst ninja products out there. Anyways, let's head to the starting platform and begin the list. Well, you gotta start somewhere. Kunoichi 1 is the only Kunoichi tournament that I would consider bad. Considering it is the first tournament, I can't get too mad at the competitor pool or the course, but there is one thing that I can get upset with, and it's something that you might not know. Kunoichi 1 only had 80 competitors run as opposed to the usual 100. Because the results were so bad, they decided to rerun 20 of the competitors to get some better results. And still, only 2 competitors cleared Stage 1, those being Miho Yamada and Masami Yusa. Stage 1, although it showed some promise, was just not fun to watch everyone struggle. And Stage 2 was somehow even worse, with a very anticlimactic ending with both competitors failing the first obstacle, the super jump. Overall, while it is far from the worst thing I have ever seen and shows the potential for growth, it's still not a good tournament. It fits right into the D tier. However, the good part is, this is the only D tier Kunoichi tournament as we move into the C tiers. Let's play a game. What do people hate about international spin-off shows the most? The 2 most popular answers are head-to-head racing and safety passes. Kunoichi 8 has both. This tournament had many differences in format compared to the rest of Kunoichi, with Stage 1 being a race between 4 competitors, with the first 2 competitors who cleared advancing to Stage 2. If nobody cleared Stage 1 within the 2-minute time frame, the group would enter a second chance stage, where after spinning around, similar to Wipeout's Dizzy Dummy obstacle, run around a balance beam and dive for a flag. The competitor that is first to do so would advance to Stage 2. Admittedly, Stage 1 did have some shock fails regarding established competitors like Rena Higashi, Chin Ishimura, and Maho Tanaka, with the latter being the third to complete the course within her group. I didn't like Stage 1, but I also didn't hate it, since it tried something new, even though it didn't really work out. Stage 3, however, is somehow even worse. It is just a hurdle jump that you could find in the Sasuke trials, and you had to complete a jump of 1.6 and 1.8 meters. Out of the 5 that made it there, 3 reached the final stage, with everyone clearing the 1.6 meter jump. The final stage wasn't bad from a course perspective, but the time limit was an insane 60 seconds, which proved to be way too much. In fact, 2 people achieved Kansen Seiha, Rai Komiya and Satomi Kadoi, with the latter clearing with an absurd 21.4 seconds left. In fact, we would have had another grand champion, Tomomi Arimatsu, if she didn't inadvertently grab the side of the rock wall. Wait a minute, am I forgetting something? That's right, Stage 2. Stage 2 is absolutely fantastic. Stage 2 felt like an all-star course, consisting of some of Kunoichi's best and most iconic obstacles. I've always liked the concept of a course like this and would like to see other shows try it. With many competitors making it to Stage 2, the stage got the focal point of the broadcast, and it works really well. Another aspect of Stage 2 I really like is that each obstacle, with the exception of the triple hurdle, took out a decent amount of competitors each and felt very balanced. Stage 2 is what ends up putting this into the C tier and ahead of Kunoichi 1, but the rest of the tournament doesn't really fulfill their end of the bargain. So it lands as the second worst Kunoichi tournament. It was believed that Kunoichi was officially gone after Kunoichi 8, but TBS and Masato Inui brought it back in 2017, and the result was actually pretty good. Considering the consensus on modern SASUKE, many thought that it would be a similar story. However, that wasn't the case. That's not to say there wasn't some bumps in the road, and that describes Kunoichi 9. Each modern Kunoichi tournament has only 50 people as opposed to the typical 100. However, this showcases way more competitors, for better or worse. Kunoichi 9 didn't exactly have the best competitor pool, with only a few veteran Kunoichi competitors, those being Mika Watanabe, formerly known as Mika Izumi, and Yuka Mizuno. The results suffered, but that was to be expected, with only 5 Stage 1 clears, all of them being in the last 10 to run Stage 1. The results weren't even the worst part of Stage 1 either. That belongs to, in my opinion, the worst obstacle in ninja history, the pipe hold. I won't go too much into detail as to why, but if you watch footage of the obstacle, you'll see why it's such a hated obstacle. Unfortunately, the pipe hold is in all 3 of the modern Kunoichi tournaments. Kunoichi 9 Stage 2, also known as the Blue Stage, was a mixture of obstacles that would be on Stages 2 and 3, being an untimed stage, which didn't work great, but it was fine all things considered. Hikari Izumi ended up clearing and made it to the final stage, but unfortunately timed up. All in all, Kunoichi 9 could have been way worse, but there was plenty of room for improvement, so it lands, coincidentally, in the number 9 spot. After Kunoichi 1, it felt like the show could only go up. And while it still had a way to go, Kunoichi 2 did just that. Kunoichi 2 had a lot of similarities to Kunoichi 1, which isn't exactly a great sign. The time limit was more lenient with 90 seconds and nerfs to obstacles like the triple hurdle and windmill cross, and a brand new obstacle replacing the hurricane run. However, the competitor pool still wasn't great and in some ways worse than Kunoichi 1's roster. It can be pretty hard to watch when competitors keep failing the first 2 obstacles over and over again. However, there was talent that still prevailed, with the likes of Kazu Watanabe, Masami Yusa, and my favorite Kunoichi competitor, Yuka Mizuno. There was one competitor that did catch us off guard, and that was Miho Yamada shockingly going out on the barrel roll. Stage 2 was a mixture of a timed and untimed course, with the first 2 obstacles being under a 45-second time limit. Mizuno and Watanabe ended up clearing the entire stage, while Yusa... yeah. The final stage was on a massive balance beam, with the middle part being a cylinder base. And despite valiant efforts, both competitors failed with the snow coming down. While I definitely feel that this is a notable improvement over Kunoichi 1, there is still a lot to be desired, and it's not great. So Kunoichi 2 lands at number 8. With that, all of the C tiers are out of the way as we move on to the B tiers. Modern Kunoichi has proved to be promising so far, and Kunoichi 10 delivers on that. This tournament does have some similarities to Kunoichi 9, but it does everything a little bit better. The results are better, with the first clear coming pretty early into the broadcast, which was nice to see given that it took a long time in Kunoichi 9. And the Stage 1 course got changed, with the double pendulum being added in place of the jump hang. However, the pipe hold is still there. Why? Now, there is actually a second and third stage now, instead of a hybrid. Stage 2 had obstacles like the spider walk, hammer dodge, reverse conveyor, and wall lift on a timed course, with the slide walk starting the stage off. The third stage introduced the propeller bars, cliffhanger, and pipe slider to Kunoichi, which was a super nice touch in my opinion. Hikari Izumi once again had the best result, failing the pipe slider. This was probably the tournament I have the least to say about. It's just a solid tournament all around, so it lands at the number 7 spot. There are 5 tournaments that fall under Kunoichi's golden age in my opinion, and they are all in the top 6. However, there is one that isn't as good as the others, and that is Kunoichi 6. After Ayako Miyake kanzened the previous 2 tournaments, there was a lot needed to be changed, and we got it. Kunoichi 6 had a worldwide celebration feel to it, with many foreign competitors this tournament, kind of like the Kunoichi version of SASUKE 25 in a sense. Stage 1 was a super nice watch, with many different new obstacles that were, at the very least, an interesting concept. Stage 2 had a twist to it in this tournament, with the stage being a time trial for anyone who clears it going onto a leaderboard that would accept the top 6 times to advance, with 8 people clearing the stage. Stage 2 also introduced one of the best and most challenging obstacles to end the stage, being the Buranto. Stage 3 was completely untimed, with a new obstacle that actually took people out for a change, and the returning Tenbinbashi. There were 4 competitors of note this tournament, the first being Maeda Mizuho, who is the only competitor to fail the Tenbinbashi, and was the victim of an electrocution, which Kane Malden went into detail on the video posted on screen. Rena Higashi became the youngest competitor to ever clear Stage 1 and Stage 2. Maho Tanaka had an amazing breakout run, making it all the way to the final stage. And of course, Ayako Miyake, who would achieve Kanzen Seiha for the unprecedented 3rd consecutive time. To be honest, at this point, I was starting to get a bit bored with the success of Ayako Miyake, but that's not her fault, as she did what she does best in Kunoichi: absolutely dominate. In the end, while not as great as the other tournaments in Kunoichi's golden age, it was still a good tournament that will round out the B tiers as we advance into the A tiers. As stated before, modern Kunoichi wasn't bad at all, and they kept getting better and better. And Kunoichi 11 easily competes with the rest of the Kunoichi golden age. You can just tell that this tournament was a cut above Kunoichi 9 and 10 when it came to keeping the viewer on their toes. Stage 1 is the exact same with the exception of the Dragon Glider in place of the double pendulum. The good thing is, Stage 1 didn't really need many changes. The bad thing is, the pipe hold is still there. I mean, come on! The results were pretty sweet, with many clearing Stage 1, and some shock fails like Aya failing the fishbone. However, there is one thing missing from this tournament, and that is Hikari Izumi, who had been the star of the show the previous 2 tournaments. And even though she was absent, many competitors picked up the slack. The most notable result came from Sakiko Okabe, who made it all the way to the final stage in timing up, ending Kunoichi as we know it. To be honest, I really don't like it when ninja shows don't end on a winner, because we, the viewers, do not end up getting closure. However, this isn't the show's fault. Even if we never get another Kunoichi tournament, Kunoichi 11 was a good send-off to this great show. From what I've seen, this tournament is considered to be the best one, and while I feel that this tournament is a bit overrated, it's still a great tournament, and that is Kunoichi 7. After Ayako Miyake achieved the 3rd Kanzen Seiha, the course designers had their work cut out for them, but they decided to take the SASUKE 5 route of only adding and changing a few obstacles. But man, did they do some damage. The redesigned Hop Rocket and Log Jam would take out many competitors, with some of them having success in previous tournaments. The Log Jam in particular you'd have to rush on since the buzzer that triggers the 3rd obstacle, the Flying Pillar, is before the obstacle. Think of it as a similar vein to A&W's The High Road, where the button that triggers it is before the Dipping Birds. The results weren't great, and is in my opinion, the worst part of the tournament. However, considering the renewal, the problem isn't as bad as you'd think. Only 4 cleared Stage 1. those being Rai Komiya, the resurgence of Chi Nishimura, formerly known as Chi Tanabe, Maho Tanaka, and of course, Ayako Miyake. Stage 2 wasn't completely dominated this time, with Rai Komiya failing the Suri Hashigo, an obstacle similar to Sasuke's Swing-A-Hammer. Chi Nishimura just timing up, and the first and only fail of Ayako Miyake in Kunoichi's history on the Barando, which was given the time and impact it needed in editing, leaving Maho Tanaka to take on Stage 3. The first obstacle was untouched, but Domino Hill had a brand new red section and a new obstacle afterwards. Unfortunately, Tanaka failed before the new parts of Stage 3, and we didn't get to see the back half of the stage, which is a shame since all of those obstacles looked pretty interesting. Overall, I do feel this tournament is a bit overrated due to the lack of results, but it's still a great tournament that is worthy of the A tier. "2005 was a very busy year for Yoshio Higuchi and Monster 9, with 3 Sasuke tournaments, 14 through 16, the first 3 Viking tournaments, and many other products. Another one of these products was Kunoichi 5, and it was great. Kunoichi 5 is the first tournament after Ayako Miyake's Kanzen Seiha in the previous tournament, which leads me to what I believe is the biggest flaw of the tournament. While there are some changes, the course didn't change too much, but by judging from results, it honestly didn't need it as much as I would have expected. Only 6 people cleared Stage 1, which is a good number considering a renewal. Stage 2 was the weakest stage, with 5 out of the 6 competitors clearing, with the Ukrainian gymnast Mirabel Akunu being the only person to fail the stage. Stage 3 had a new first and third obstacles and became untimed. Well, until the third obstacle, Mugendo, also known as Dreamer's Road. You had 15 seconds to cross the obstacle, which led to some close calls. The 2 big stars of the show were Rai Komiya, improving from her already impressive rookie performance to reach the final stage, and of course, Ayako Miyake, who once again destroyed the course and achieved a second Kanzen Seiha. There were many moments that added on to the experience of this tournament, with Kaio Haga crying after just timing up right before the Stage 1 buzzer for the 3rd time in a row. Yuka Mizuno had an amazing comeback after a shocking fail in Kunoichi 4 and the aforementioned Kanzen. Miyake stated in her post-run interview that she dedicated her performance to her recently deceased grandmother, which was a very nice, wholesome, and touching moment to end an already great tournament. Kunoichi 5 was a great tournament that anyone should watch. What is one of the things that Sasuke and Kunoichi have in common? Both shows had their first winner in their 4th tournament. Kunoichi 4 is just a great time all around, which was very exciting to see play out. After 14 Stage 1 clears in the previous tournament, the course changed quite a bit with many modified obstacles. 2 of Kunoichi's greatest competitors debuted in this tournament, those being Rai Komiya and Ayako Miyake. From their very first runs, you can just tell that they are indeed built different. What makes Stage 1 really special in my eyes are some of the shock fails along the way. Tomomi Hanzawa timed up on the final obstacle of the stage. Chi Nishimura failed a redesigned hop rocket, and Masami Yusa failed the windmill cross. However, one shock fail stood out from the rest, and I would consider the most shocking fail in Kunoichi's history. The dancing stones this tournament started to have a spring on the 3rd peg to challenge the competitors further, and it took out Yuka Mizuno? Seeing the competitor that came so close to victory the past 2 tournaments and was deemed the most likely to win, failing the very first obstacle, took all the air out of my mouth the first time I watched it on G4. Mizuno was absolutely devastated by the result and was never the same after this fail. Stage 2 was the jobber stage again, but there was one fail that happened that was surprising, and that was Mika Izumi? Stage 3 was the same, and only one competitor ended up making the final stage, that being rookie Ayako Miyake. And then the rest is history. For being a roller coaster and giving us the first of Miyake's dominance throughout Kunoichi's history. This lands at number 2 and wraps up the A-tier tournaments. Now, there is one S-tier tournament, and well, if you've followed along through the process of elimination, you know exactly what number 1 is. And that, of course, is Kunoichi 3. This tournament is just simply fantastic, from the results, the courses, and how the tournament is edited. You can already tell from the first few runners that this tournament is such an improvement over the first two, and it just continues to pick up steam. Stage 1 was fantastic all the way through, with some shock fails along the way, with the most notable being Masami Yusa going out on the first obstacle. Now, there is one part of this tournament that I felt could have been better, and that was Stage 2. Stage 2 had 14 competitors take on the course, and 11 cleared. Stage 3, strangely, was timed, despite many ninja shows having an untimed Stage 3. However, with the course, it worked well, especially with the Tenbinbashi ending the stage. This was also the debut tournament of Domino Hill, one of the most iconic and deadliest obstacles throughout Kunoichi's history, and it made a great impression on the competitors and the audience. In the end, 3 people made it to the brand new, tower-based final stage: Mika Izumi, Tomomi Hanzawa, and Yuka Mizuno. Unfortunately, none of them ended up being the first competitor to achieve Kanzen Seiha, with Mizuno's time up being especially heartbreaking, with her slamming the buzzer multiple times before falling back to earth. Now that I think about it, this tournament is very similar to how Sasuke 12 played out, which is a fan favorite tournament, and for good reason. All these factors make Kunoichi 3, in my opinion, the best Kunoichi tournament and an easy S tier. Kunoichi was a great show that has sadly fallen into obscurity with the rise in popularity of many other ninja shows. Unlike Sasuke or A&W, its impact wasn't nearly as widespread, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't check it out. Ayako Miyake in particular is one of the most overlooked and underrated competitors throughout ninja history, and her level of dominance was absolutely insane. I wish Kunoichi would come back in its modern form to finally have another winner, whether it be Ayano Oshima, Hikari Izumi, Sakiko Okabe, or even someone we haven't seen on the course before. I wonder what your guys' rankings are, and why. Feel free to have some discussion in the comments section. Thank you for watching, and as always, until next time, on TSN.